Well, yes, indeed. Mr. John Oloyede, a legal practitioner, joins us next. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Good morning.
Well, let's attempt to get away from that controversy between the executive and the legislature. But it may be a little difficult because we're talking about the Senate, a senator who, at the moment, in the eye of the storm with his constituency, INEC setting up those processes to see if he could be recalled. And there are many who have said, look, having looked through the process of recall in this country, it's going to be almost impossible for that to happen. But there are others who say, look, the law is already playing out. So we'll see how far that goes. From what you've seen, you think we're going to end up going round circles, cycles, and it never really will happen?
Well, I'll answer that question from what transpired, the latest development on this matter, which is the court matter. The decision of the court yesterday, which we all heard about in the evening, that the court has given an order that status quo should be maintained, and the matter was adjourned till sometime in November or October this year. And effectively, that threw spanners in the wheel. Just as yesterday, Dino Melaye was tweeting that, oh well, thank God, status quo and all that, and effectively, the status quo as of today is that he remains a senator. The process started by INEC has not been concluded. And that means until their next day in court, no further progress can be made. What happens in Nigeria, as we all know, is that when politicians have problems, when there's a battle between the legislature, the executive, they take the dirty job to the judiciary to clean up. And yes, my answer to that is, we're just going around in circles. Just like the previous ones, we've had about 5 attempts at recalling members of houses of assembly at state and federal level, and all of them were truncated, either by turning it into a family affair when PDP was in power, or somebody going to court, or the person that was in the eye of the storm getting appointed as a minister when it was obvious that he would be recalled. All this while, nobody had ever allowed the process to be concluded, and I don't see this one becoming an exception.
The question is, can the process ever be concluded considering the so many hurdles you will have to pass before getting to that point whereby a representative can be recalled?
Well, I don't think, you see, the law is very explicit. It's not supposed to be, but for the fact of our Nigerianness, the process is very straightforward, and it's about the simplest process in the Constitution. I mean, you have where Section 69 governs Dino Melaye's Section 69 of the Constitution governs his own problem, and about 4 steps. You have to get people to sign a petition, his constituents to sign a petition. More than half of the constituents should do that. According to INEC, they've received the petition signed by more than half. Of course, it is contentious. He says, oh, all the people in my area, there are about 118,000 or so, and they say they have 188,000. Well, that is an issue for another day. But they say they have enough, about 52% of the people in the area, they have signed. After the petition is submitted, he is notified. He has been duly notified. Then they will give a timetable for the actual recall, which is they publish the dates on which people will go to different wards to go and vote whether for him to be recalled or not. Now, about 2 of those processes have been concluded, and I don't see anything cumbersome in INEC. INEC said it was ready to do its job.
Can those signatures be verified?
Oh, why not? Every signature, I mean, it's a process.
If you have 180,000 people,
yes,
and then you want to verify their signatures all through, how possible is that?
The process of verification has started. One of the grounds for going to court is, look, out of all these people, I've been able to get 60% who said, no, we didn't sign. The reason why we went there was they said the governor said there's a program and that we should all come submit our voters' cards so that we can get some form of empowerment. So we signed. We were signing for empowerment and that. I mean, if those people can come forward and say, no, I didn't sign to recall my representative, that's one. They say, okay, I have about 120 certificates of death and these dead people have signed. In Nigeria, dead people vote. He says this and that. So he himself, Dino Melaye, I mean, he's in the eye of the storm. He's fighting for their life. He has started the process of verification. But you see, he is not willing, he's not ready, able, and willing to leave it in the hands of INEC. He doesn't trust INEC. He doesn't believe in INEC. Every politician...
But INEC delivered him.
No, INEC organized the elections that saw him, but then the relationship ends there. And so, when problems like that start, they rush to the court. And now, if you have all that, why not wait for the process to continue, and then let the people who say, no, I didn't sign, let them also come and vote and say, no, I'm not voting for his recall.
You know what the Deputy Senate President said? He said that this recall is dead on arrival.
Yes.
Why do you think he made a comment like that?
Well, those are the kind of irresponsible, I'm not sorry using that expression. Those are the kind of irresponsible comments that our politicians make, telling us to our faces that we don't count. You cannot say such a sensitive matter arrives dead on arrival, even if that's your feeling, even if you have evidence to suggest that what is being done is wrong. But when you throw it at us, the electorate, and say, look, there's nothing you guys can do.
Is that the way he said it, or did he perhaps...
Well, I read
processes.
I read that he said it's dead on arrival.
Yeah, he said that, but what if some say, well, he may have looked at the process and said, look, there's an abuse of process here, and as a result of that, it's DOA.
What I'm saying is, you are a lawmaker. You have to be, in your utterances, you have to manage your comments, manage your words. I guess that was what prompted the reaction of Madam Ezekwesili. When she said, how can you make, you are a legislator. The people in his constituency, they are the ones saying, they are the ones allegedly saying they want to recall him, because we are not sure anymore. A lot of things happen in Nigeria, you cannot be too sure. They say they want to recall him. That is what is in there. Even if you have evidence, for instance, Dino Melaye has said, look, see, dead people are signing. See, these people signed for empowerment, not to recall me. These people said, no, I was never there. Now, those are cogent and credible pieces of evidence to debunk the allegation of the petition. It is not for a man so high up who comes from another constituency to say, oh, he's dead on arrival. It's so dismissive, and it is annoying.
Although there are a few steps that you said, about 4 steps to get to that point where a legislator can be recalled. Yes. But looking in between, would you say that these 4 steps, one of the steps constitutes such difficulty and perhaps needs to be revisited with the view to making it easier for recall?
Well, you may. Let me tell you. Let's do some form of comparative analysis. You see, the bastion of democracy, the United States, the power of recall is not enshrined in the Constitution at the federal level. Some states have put it in their constitutions. At some point in time, there were attempts to recall legislators at the federal level and from the state. And the Supreme Court of the U.S. stated that, look, you are overstepping your bounds because you are talking of a community. Once the person leaves the state and comes to the federal level and becomes a member of the federal legislature, the states no longer have power over him. That's the way the Americans see it. And since 1911, when it made its first appearance in America, the power of recall, only a governor and maybe a senator had been recalled since 1911. So what I'm trying to say is that it is not out of place that what is happening in Nigeria is happening. It is not out of place. Even in America, that power of recall is not something, it has been sparingly used. So we should not cry wolf where there is none. It's not a Nigerian factor. It is something absolutely difficult. But then, the Nigerian factor comes in when the power of recall is being used, not according to the intendment of the law, but because there's a grouse between personalities. That makes it all the more difficult.
Let's take you back to the judiciary, which you highlighted in the opening.
Yes.
I'm just wondering, what should they do in order to perhaps banish this impression that people have that, oh, if they want to truncate anything, go to the judiciary, they'll play ball?
Wow. That is pretty difficult. You see, majority of Nigerians at the moment have totally demonized the judiciary and substantially too the Congress, the National Assembly. They see them as people who are sucking blood from Nigeria. Now, every day we interact with people and they cannot understand why pronouncements of court go that way. As at yesterday, Dino Melaye would describe himself as a common man and would say, oh, the court is the last hope of the common man. He became a common man like you and I yesterday because he got an order that status quo should be maintained, subject to interpretation of the diverse parties. Now, tomorrow, Dino Melaye may not be a common man because the pronouncement of the court may go against him. And then the issue of corruption in the judiciary will come up. The people who are supposedly signed the petition, who are supposed to be commoners, yesterday, by the time the reality of the order of court hits them, will then say, oh, the judiciary is corrupt, the judiciary has been bribed. The court that made the pronouncement made an order for status quo. It did not grant the specific order prayed for by Dino Melaye. People are not going to look at that. It did not grant a specific injunction. He said, okay, keep your gunpowder dry, pending when you all come back. And mind you, there are other cases where courts will still make pronouncements on applications for injunction. Now, there is no way the court cannot come to your studio and start giving reasons for their reasoning. Unfortunately, it is we lawyers who will come, and you will have opinions as diverse as the number of lawyers you bring into your studio. We will never agree.